Games have proven time and time again that they are the ultimate form of entertainment, thanks to their ability to combine storytelling with interactivity that, when done right, can create wondrous experiences that stay with you long after the credits have rolled. Single-player games have been and continue to be a big staple for fans, and with this feature we'll be taking a look at 25 of the best single-player games of all time. Starfield. Starfield is Bethesda's newest IP in over 25 years, and it's a testament to the developer's amazing world-building chops. The NASA-punk designs on offer look really amazing, but Starfield isn't just shown without substance. You get to explore a massive space world inhabited by different cultures and factions. And you get to take on a wide variety of well-written quests that twist and turn based on your choices. Add to that some massive improvements in combat, and Starfield becomes a really tantalizing experience. Dead Space. Dead Space is one of the best survival horror games of all time, and the popularity of the recently released remake is a testament to the timelessness of this classic. The protagonist's journey through the foggy and claustrophobic compartments of USG Ishimura is brimming with ferocious necromorphs waiting to maul you at every instance of reckless behavior. Between a brutal gameplay loop and ominous atmosphere, Dead Space is an impressive survival horror game that's just as fresh as it was more than a decade ago. Horizon Forbidden West. Horizon Forbidden West is a game that takes what worked in the original and expands upon those concepts in new and interesting ways. Forbidden West thrusts players into a beautiful open world brimming with both beauty and suffering, and you must do everything in your power to free the world from the titular corruption that's raging in full force. The gameplay also features key improvements like expanded mobility options and better platforming, which makes for a worthy sequel. Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Moon Studios delivered an excellent platformer with Ori and the Will of the Wisps, a game that does a good job of combining a fantasy-style story with a smooth, flowing combat loop. The game takes you through a bunch of wonderfully well-realized locales, and what makes it so special is the excellent understanding of when to dish out new powers and new kinds of obstacles, which makes the progression and gameplay loop surprisingly addictive for a single-player game. Resident Evil 2 Remake. Resident Evil 2 stands tall as one of the best and most important survival horror games in history, and RE2 Remake does an excellent job of taking those ideas and presenting them in a way that today's audience will definitely appreciate. The myriad visual improvements and gameplay overhauls really bring out the best in Resident Evil 2, and it's a consistently thrilling experience with a rich atmosphere and brutal gameplay. Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a heart-wrenching tale about the gradual fall of the Van der Linde gang as law and order start to rapidly penetrate into the Wild West. Red Dead Redemption 2 features some of the best writing that we have seen in gaming, and it presents it all with some stunning attention to detail. The world is brimming with different quests to undertake and things to do, and you could spend dozens upon dozens of hours wandering aimlessly and just soaking in the sunsets. Super Mario Odyssey. Super Mario Odyssey is a wonderfully imaginative game that's entirely based upon using your magical hat to take control of objects in the world and cross all kinds of obstacles in the many sandbox levels. The mechanics and level designs are top-notch, and Odyssey does a great job of introducing a big grin on your face as you hop and glide through these platforming jungle gyms. Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. Uncharted 2 Among Thieves might just be the best rendition of a non-stop action movie in video game form. Nathan's journey to finding the coveted Chintamani stone is punctuated with all sorts of wacky set-piece sequences and frenetic gunfights, and the accompanying story also manages to tug at the heartstrings without compromising on the signature pompous thrill of the series. Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty. MGS2 is a game that was well and truly ahead of its time. The narrative tackled heavy themes, such as the effects of information misspread and the power of social media long before any of these things had much value in the world. And it's all accompanied by a strong foundation of gameplay ideas that beautifully work together with one another. And then, of course, you also have a sizable portion of memorable boss fights that will stay with you long after the credits roll. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Set against the monster-infested fantasy world of Continent, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is all about adventuring your way through its many areas in the hopes of finding the whereabouts of Ciri. The Witcher 3 is a game with a complex web of mechanics and systems that intertwine with each other to create something that's truly wonderful. Add to that a bevy of diverse and engaging content on offer, and Wild Hunt becomes a truly spectacular experience. Grand Theft Auto 5. GTA 5 is one of the highest-selling video games of all time, and it's the most profitable entertainment product in all history, and those records should alone tell you about the game and its massive popularity. Grand Theft Auto 5 dumps you into a beautiful world inhabited by all sorts of colorful personalities and tasks you to take on daring heist missions, or just carve out your own fun in this wondrous sandbox. It's a game that puts fun at the epicenter of its designs, which makes the final product so much more addictive than its peers. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas might just be the most influential game of the PS2 generation, and for good reason. Rockstar provided a significant bump in quality over Vice City, incorporating multiple open cities to explore, activities to pursue, and a buffet of mission types to choose from. San Andreas was unlike anything we had ever experienced before, and despite a few obvious cracks, it remains a highly enjoyable game to this day. Grand Theft Auto 4. Grand Theft Auto 4 tells the story of Nico exacting a long-awaited revenge on an enemy while coming to grips with the frailties of living your dream. It's a compelling story that expertly juggles some heavy themes with the signature humor of the series, and the bevy of gameplay improvements like combat and mission designs haven't gone unnoticed by fans. Grand Theft Auto 4 is an underrated classic and deserves a lot more credit and appreciation than it gets. Red Dead Redemption 1. Yet another one of Rockstar's works on this list. RDR puts players in the shoes of former Vanderlyn gang member John Marston as he tries to earn his long-due redemption by working for lawful authorities. The Wild West setting marked a fresh change of pace from the bustling metropolitans that we saw in the Grand Theft Auto games, and it's all brought to life with plentiful attention to detail, in aspects ranging from horse riding to mission designs and so much more. Far Cry 3. 2012's Far Cry 3 was an incredibly successful venture for the open-world genre, and a lot of that could be attributed to the excellent combination of a strong story and an open-ended gameplay loop that's entirely based on systemic game design. Far Cry 3 takes you from one thrilling mission to the next, and you can spend a ton of time just roaming around the open world, hunting prey for a fancy piece of equipment, or taking on enemy encampments in creative ways. Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect 2 is a massive space opera where you take control of Commander Shepard and his crew as they embark on dangerous missions across the galaxy. Mass Effect 2's set of missions and the accompanying story is arguably the peak representation of the genre, which makes it worthy of being on this list. Gears of War 3. Gears 3 combines an entertaining story with its action-packed cover shooting gameplay, which results in a high-octane experience that's just hard to put down. Released in 2011, the game was supposed to be an end to the original trilogy, and the developers made sure that it all went down in style. This entry features some of the best firefights in the series, which makes it really hard to put down once you get the hang of it. Half-Life 2. Much like Alan Wake 2, Half-Life 2 is the sequel that truly showcased the capabilities of the original game. The story of Gordon Freeman taking charge of forming an uprising against the Combine is punctuated with plenty of set-piece moments, and the many physics-based puzzles that pepper the story were ahead of their time. It's possible that you might notice some pacing issues when comparing it to more breakneck modern titles, but Half-Life 2 holds up surprisingly well, even after all these years. Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 doubles the action and the fun by letting you switch between Peter Parker and Miles Morales at the flip of a button. It's a sequel that knows what works within the context of the franchise and does everything in its right to make the adventure of a grandiose one that's filled to the brim with interesting boss fights and myriad main missions that should keep you busy for hours on end. Bloodborne. Bloodborne thrusts players into a wondrous world that feels like the embodiment of your worst nightmares, and tasks you to trudge through labyrinthian levels that continue to get increasingly brutal with new kinds of enemies and obstacles. The combat dares you to get up close and aggressively push back against enemies, but being reckless with your actions will get you nowhere. Shadow of the Colossus, 2005. Fumito Ueda is a master of creating games that have a strong foundation of core gameplay ideas, and those merits shine extremely brightly in his original 2005 PS2 release of Shadow of the Colossus. It tells a surprisingly emotional story about a boy tracking down colossi to bring a girl back to life, and each of the 16 boss fights have been meticulously constructed with great attention to detail, making it a truly special experience. Batman Arkham City. Batman Arkham City took Batman from the claustrophobic corridors of Arkham Asylum to the large open expanse of Arkham City. The story features plenty of different villains from Gotham's rogues gallery, and it's all stitched beautifully through some amazing gameplay sequences and an open world that's just an absolute joy to explore. Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. Splinter Cell stands tall as one of the most prestigious stealth action franchises of all time, and Chaos Theory might just be the peak experience that it has to offer. The level designs are varied and require players to be thoughtful of each and every action they take, and the feeling of sneaking right past enemy guards in pitch-black corridors is just something truly special. Chaos Theory might be dated in some aspects, but it's still a game that's worth playing and worth appreciating to this day. Alan Wake 2. The original Alan Wake was an inventive action horror game that had a unique setting and featured some impressive mechanics. But it's Alan Wake 2 that does the needful changes and additions to fully realize the potential of the original game. Remedy's excellent gameplay mechanics shine brightly, and the Northlight engine does a wonderful job of presenting it all with astonishing attention to detail. It's really hard to describe Alan Wake 2's merits without spoiling it, so be sure to check it out. God of War Ragnarok. God of War Ragnarok is an excellent culmination of the narrative that Kickstarter with God of War 2018, and it's a conclusion that's well worth the massive journey. Ragnarok amps up the narrative's emotional and action elements by 11, and the gameplay has also seen iterative yet appreciated changes that make the end product a worthy sequel and one of the most impressive action-adventure games of all time. Once you're done with the campaign, you can jump into the game's roguelike mode, which will add more hours to your gameplay. Elden Ring. Elden Ring is a game that takes you through an unforgettable journey through the lands between. It truly feels like everything the Souls genre has been building towards. And Elden Ring features best-in-class combat customization, a vast open world peppered with valuable secrets, and large labyrinthian levels where every room tells its own story. It's a brutal game that asks a lot from the player, but investing something here will yield some intangible rewards that'll stay with you long after the credits roll. Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 is exactly what a massive adventure through a fantastical kingdom feels like. Set against the backdrop of a challenging setting, Baldur's Gate 3 presents a barrage of gripping moments where you get to meet a bunch of characters from all walks of life and go on massive treks and come across intimidating encounters. The gameplay is highly dynamic despite it being turn-based, and it's all executed at such a massive scale that it almost feels surreal. Final Fantasy XVI. To say that Final Fantasy XVI is one of the best games in this long-running genre would undoubtedly be a bold statement, but it's not without its reasons. Final Fantasy XVI's action hack-and-slash game just fits the bill, and what we get is a game where the setting strongly resonates with the fast and frenetic gameplay, making for a tightly designed experience where everything beautifully meshes with one another. Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Nintendo's Super Mario offerings continue to be extremely enjoyable adventures for decades at this point, and a lot of that can be attributed to the constant evolution of the game's level designs and the addition of new kinds of obstacles with each new release. Super Mario Bros. Wonder represents the latest in the line of long-running platformers, and it features a bevy of new obstacles ranging from dangerous level geometry to power-ups that turn Mario into a gargantuan elephant and much more. Tears of the Kingdom. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is an important release, not only for the open-world genre, but for single-player games as well. It's a game that delivers thanks to player freedom and curiosity, which is at the forefront of every mechanic. Tears of the Kingdom is a game which is hard to put down once you start playing it.
That's all for now. If you enjoy what you saw, please hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, now is a great time to subscribe. We upload brand new videos every single day. After subscribing, don't forget to enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you next time, right here on GamingBolt.